Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the Archgun the Phaedra. But before we start, let's go over our commenter board. The first commenter of the last video was Untruths, and the top commenter of the last video was a tie between Poisonous Cure, 4045, and Untruths. And then we have our recent channel supporter board here of Elite Reverser, Whoop-De-Wham, and Nice Bear. Thank you so much for your support. Unique and interesting things about the Phaedra is not much really. There's no unique trait for this weapon or no unique characteristics really for it. It does get an innate 1.2 punch through, which is nice, but a lot of other ARC guns get that 1.2 innate punch through. But other than that, that's it. Before we go over the build, I just wanted to point to a few stats that are going to guide us into how to build this. And the first thing I want to point to is the fire rate. It actually has a really good base fire rate. So that gives us the opportunity to not use a fire rate mod and save that mod slot for something else. That's going to be very useful when we get to the build. Next, I want to point to critical chance, which is 14%. That's really bad. Any kind of percent increase to that is still going to be pretty bad. And so this really pushes us to use secondary Enervate as our secondary arcane. Critical damage is 2 times. That is average, right in the middle at average, so that's fine. And status chance is 30%, which is actually quite good, and that makes primary crux really good on this weapon. Now let's go over the mods. We have Prime Rubedo Line Barrel for 187% damage, Prime Dual Rounds for 110% multi-shot, Hollowed Bullets for 80% critical damage, Critical Focus for 60% critical chance and damage when aiming. In the next 2 mod slots, we're going to be making viral, so we use the 60/60 Toxic mod of Contamination Casing, and the 60/60 Cold mod of Hypothermic Shell to make viral. Now, if you already have an external way to produce viral, then consider making corrosive here instead, which would be the 60/60 Toxic mod and the 60/60 Electric mod in that case. In the next 2 mod slots, we're actually using both heat mods. So we have Magma Chamber, which is the 60/60 heat mod, and Combustion Rounds, which is the 120 heat mod here. That way we increase our heat weighting. And we're able to do this on this weapon pretty easily because of its really good fire rate that lets us not have to use automatic trigger, which a lot of other ARC guns have to use. And instead we can overweight our heat finally, which a lot of other ARC guns can't do that. They're stuck with a heat weighting that is very close to what the viral weighting is. And in a perfect world, you don't want that. You want the heat weighting to be much higher. And on this weapon, we actually get to achieve that by using both of the heat mods here. In the primary arcane slot, we're using primary crux. This is going to be 300% status chance and 60% ammo efficiency. And then in the secondary arcane slot, we're using secondary Enervate, which is on a hit, increases critical chance by 10% and resets after 6 big critical hits, which they consider as orange crits. So secondary Enervate is going to deal with all of our crit chance for us. So this 14% is going to be much better than what it looks like here. This is how you build out the Archgun the Phaedra. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing for future content. So now we'll have a 5-minute gameplay portion showcasing the weapon, and when that's done, we'll come back to the Orbiter and we'll give it its final score and ranking. So I'll see you guys again after the gameplay. Alrighty, we're about to start this 5-minute gameplay portion up here on the Phaedra. Let's go ahead and hack the terminal, and we'll get into it. I do have Proteus Dispensary on, just so I can make sure I'm topped up on heavy ammo. Although this is a crux build, so it's very ammo efficient regardless. I'll actually try not to use Dispensary, and we'll see how far we can go without it. And if I have to use Dispensary, eventually I'll make sure I say so. That way you guys know that I've used it once at least. So it's like a machine gun, ARC gun, very similar to something like the Imperator Vandal. It's actually kind of got like reverse stats than the Imperator Vandal did. This one is bad crit, so it makes us go Enervate. This is good status chance, so Crux is better. Whereas I'm trying to remember exactly what we did with the Imperator Vandal. I think we went with a Corrosive Cold build because it just pushed us into that direction. Whereas this one pushes us into the Viral Heat direction because of the status chance and the ability to use Crux. Well, Imperator Vandal can use Crux too, just at less of a value than this one. So they're decent. I guess you can consider them kind of side grades to each other. I do personally like the Imperator Vandal a little bit better in this one. I really like the sound of this weapon, though. The sound of this weapon is really cool. It reminds me of, like, I'm trying to remember what it reminds me of. I think it reminds me of, like, the old, like, chopper gunner from, like, Modern Warfare, like, way back in the day. That, like, that one kill streak where you were just kind of, like, sitting in the chopper and you could shoot the machine gun at everyone. I think it kind of sounds like that. All right, we're about halfway through here. Versus the Acolyte, I wasn't super impressed with this weapon. Like, I did feel like the Imperator Vandal did better versus the Acolyte. You know, that might just have been because it's a Corrosive Cold build. Corrosive Cold does usually do better versus the Acolyte than Viral Heat because you don't get much value out of Viral Heat versus the Acolyte. So yeah, I mean, that's probably why this feels worse versus the Acolyte than the Imperator Vandal. So we should get an Acolyte on this run at some point. And I'm only guessing that we went Corrosive Cold on the Imperator Vandal. I'm trying to remember exactly what that build was. I think we did go Corrosive Cold on the Imperator Vandal. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Don't hold me to it. Don't hold me to it. $30 seconds left. We'll get Thraxes. At least it was pretty decent on Thraxes. It's not super impressive, you know. Like we stack a lot of heat procs, but you know we're still not going to stack as much heat procs as like a Kuva New Core, which is a bit unfortunate because we use two heat mods, so it's like we spend a lot of mod slots on heat, but we're still not going to stack as much as like some of the other weapons in the game. But it's still decent. It's still decent. We'll see here. Let me reload so we can see for the Thraxes here. So, oh, I didn't see what he was at for heat procs. That guy's at about 80 before he went down. All right, so that is 5 minutes. I kind of want to wait for the Acolyte to see. Let me see what the kill count is right here. So we're 496 at 5 minutes. We'll give it about 30 seconds to hopefully the Acolyte comes out so I can show what this does versus him. If he doesn't come out in 30 seconds, so we'll just end it and go back to the Orbiter. The Acolyte can spawn anywhere from, there he is. Okay, like 3 minutes to 8 minutes, I believe, is what the his ability to spawn is. So sometimes you get a really late one. This is like a 5 minute 45 second Acolyte. All right, so you're gonna see it's like respectable damage, but like that's definitely not good. It's pretty mid damage versus the Acolyte there. So yeah, that's the run. Let's go back to the Orbiter now. Welcome back to the Orbiter, guys. So let's go over how the Phaedra did in its 3 10-minute runs on Steel Path Lewis Circulus. It got 1,041, 1,075, and 987 kills, putting it in the S tier for kill per minute potential. When it comes to single target damage, it's an okay weapon. It's better versus Thraxes and Eximuses, where they can actually stack a lot of heat procs, versus the Acolyte, where they can't. You know, you're capped at 4 there. So versus the Acolyte or other mini bosses that can't stack statuses, it's very mid type damage. It's B tier versus those enemy types. Versus normal thick enemies, yes, it stacks a lot of heat procs, but it doesn't stack as many heat procs as just some other basic weapons like regular primary and secondary weapons. It's still decent though. I'm really stuck giving it either a B+ or an A-. I think we'll give it that high B, and you could definitely argue that it should be A, but low A. So I think either one would be fine. We'll give it B for single target potential, but it definitely could be like a very low A as well. And when it comes to ease of use, this is a weapon you want to aim in for. You have critical focus that requires you to aim. You have crux that requires you to get headshots, or weak point hits, I should say. Not every weak point is a headshot, but yeah. So you have crux, you have critical focus, and there's no AoE on the weapon, so you really do want to be hitting heads to get the most out of it. So it's not an easy weapon to use. It's also not hard. It's right in the middle. So we'll give it B tier for ease of use. So that's my take on the weapon. Tell me what you guys think. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right, bye.